Welcome to another episode of Kiss My Assets.
The transparency, the openness, the communication is more than you could expect. I'm sold.
Don't let the fact that you don't know something or don't know enough about something hold you back.
I knew I wanted to invest. What better way to invest than to invest in what I already know that I love, which is real estate.
It was initially the 12% return, but it quickly turned into the people.
Welcome back, everyone. It's another episode of Kiss My Assets, aka job security for me. That's what I call it to myself.
And who are you?
I'm Heather Andrews, and I work in investor relations. And you are my favorite boss, Jamison Manwaring.
Yes, and I am the co-founder of Neighborhood Ventures, and excited to be here. Post-Thanksgiving, we had a great meal.
So good.
And we have kind of a quiet news week because of Thanksgiving, but there are some important things that we're excited to talk about, you know, with real estate and multifamily.
Yeah, well, the thing that we can't stop talking about is inflation, which they tricked me with this headline. Because it was like, oh, don't worry, it's gone down a little bit. And then you read it and you're like, no, you were just getting punched a little softer. Like, it's cool, it's moderating. So as long as you do not need fuel, a house, or to eat, things are looking good.
You're good.
Things are good. So that someone is happy about it.
I did see that the Thanksgiving dinner was up, I think it was about 11%. If you look at everything from the turkey that you need, the stuffing, the drinks, somewhere in that range year on year. So we'll see. Hopefully people still had Thanksgiving, that they can handle that 11%. But the big thing in this last inflation print, as it's called in the industry for October, it was good news because it went down.
Yes.
So in August, year on year inflation increase was 8.3%. Mm-hmm. In September, folks were hoping it would get down to in the 7s. It ended up coming in at 8.2. So very much basically the same as August. Finally, in October, it came down to 7.7. And if you saw the market those couple of days, stock market went up for the few days after it, as it looked like we've probably hit the inflection point with inflation, and now it's going to continue to trend down, which would mean that the Fed would probably ease up on lowering or on increased interest rates. But yeah, if you dig into the numbers, they're still really high. The one that stood out to me, and you brought this up, was gas and energy. And this is actually has a lot to do with Russia, but anything that's a double-digit increase on a year-on-year basis is a lot. And energy was up 18% over a year, and that has a big impact.
And I feel like, and maybe I've been in a bubble, but this is the first time the last 2 months where I feel like I've noticed inflation. Like I've started to really say, oh, like my utilities have gone up.
Yep.
Don't love it. Eggs are a little more, so no one's getting a cake for a while.
It adds up. We're $4 to $5 for gas here in Phoenix. If you're premium, you're more close to $5. Family in different parts of the country are more close to $3 to $3.50. It's kind of it's wild, crazy how it's varied, but gas is still high. And some good news is that it sounds like some of the OPEC countries are going to be pulling that back or helping by putting more supply on the market. But at least for October, 18% increase from the prior year. So
well, it did trick me because the gas went was over $5, and then now it's $4.50, where I just filled up, and I was like, what a gift! What a beautiful number.
So that annual number gives you an idea of how everything in what we call the basket of goods have increased over the year. And it was good to start seeing this trend down. And we know that there has been a slowdown in the economy pretty drastically over the last 4 or 5 months. We see it in the housing market. We see it in the direct things that raising interest rates will impact: buying new cars, used cars, purchases, discretionary purposes. And now we're starting to see some bigger companies like Facebook, some of these bigger tech companies, Amazon, announcing layoffs. Typically, you don't want to see that. And it's weird, but we're in an environment where we do want to see that. We want to see these things slow down because the economy's too hot and inflation is bad for everybody. Everyone needs a break.
You don't need to buy anything. You can make it.
But it's weird that when you hear that Facebook is laying people off, Amazon's laying people off, when people heard that, Facebook stock went up. Partly is because they feel like Facebook has been spending too much developing Meta and that they're
Yes,
pulling
which
back.
I don't understand at all.
Yeah,
Sorry, Mark.
I don't get it either. So investors were happy to see
Yeah.
some financial discipline, but at the same time, investors are starting to try to get more of a gauge on what will happen with inflation, and seeing those big companies pull back should help inflation over the next 18 months to a year.
As long as the layoffs are not here. So with inflation cooling off just a little bit, we've seen mortgage rates go down as well. And I liked this article on CNN just because it was my birth year, but it's the largest drop since 1981, which is an excellent year.
Yeah, so that's kind of interesting after the Fed news that rates, which for 30-year fixed mortgage rates, they had got over 7%. They had a huge drop down to 6.6%. I think they've now come up a little bit from that, but the fixed 30-year rate is actually kind of tricky to predict because it's not directly tied with what the Fed does. It definitely has an impact on rates, but then it goes into the public markets and lending markets, and there's a lot of other factors that go into it. So some of it is where they expect rates will go going forward. So it was good to see a bit of a ease up on that. I do have a friend that's buying a house, and I heard that they locked their rate in at 7.25.
And were they thrilled? Did they feel like that was good?
It changes everything, because we used to be so excited because you're getting a house you like and you're getting a 3% or interest rate. And now you better be really excited about that house at 7.25.
Yeah, and like this is for borrowers who are doing 20% and they have excellent credit. That's really who's only people buying a house right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to really like the house, but at the same time, you can always refinance when rates go down. So they know that. And if you're renting and you're in a position to buy, it isn't a bad time to buy. And that actually is something we're seeing in Phoenix. In the Phoenix market, we're starting to see that it is a buyer's market now. So this company has this calculation that they do in Arizona where they look at inventory, they look at how long houses are selling for, and they came out and have officially said now we're in a buyer's market in Phoenix, which we haven't had in a long time here. It felt like if you're going to own a home, you better go out and buy it now, and you better offer your firstborn child's name for the seller. That'll really happen. To get the deal.
When I last year when I bought a house, my realtor was the first one in, and I wouldn't let her leave the house until we had submitted an offer. And there were people outside waiting to get in. I was like, no, we're not leaving until we've submitted an offer.
And
it's ours.
That's a little bit of pandemonium. Like,
oh yeah,
it's not a great for
I'm
a buyer.
easily excited. Yes.
So now it isn't a bad time to buy. If you're looking at owning a home and you have a long-term view, hey, I want to own a home for 10 years. I want to be in a home for the next 8 years. If you're looking for a quick buck, like I'm going to live here for a year or two, you're probably better off renting.
Yep.
In fact, most people who want that flexibility are better off renting.
Yeah.
Unless they're going to be there a while. But if you're going to be there 10 years, you're in good shape if you're buying in a market like Phoenix, because it's very likely that homes will continue to drive up as people move here. And then you can refinance that 7 to maybe 5 or 4 as rates probably will come down.
So my favorite thing in here, when I hear like from a little 7 to a 6, it doesn't seem like that much to me. And they said, oh, that might drop a payment by like $100 a month, your mortgage payment. But then they said over a 30-year loan, that's like $48,000 in interest.
Yep.
That's like a really nice car. I would never spend that much. But like that, I thought, oh, that does make a big difference, that little bit of
when you look at it on
rate.
the full 30-year, it's a huge impact. Yeah, that's $1,200 a year or something if it's a 30-year.
And I can buy a lot of Diet Coke with that.
Right.
So Arizona, who will not, they cannot stop, won't stop, in the words of Miley Cyrus. Can't stop, won't stop.
Was she talking about Arizona?
Yeah, she was.
Okay.
That's what she told me.
The naysayers would say unless you run out of water down there in the desert.
Yeah. No, we already talked about that. We know there's plenty of water. It's all hidden underground.
So I saw an article NBC News put out, and it said Arizona cities on the brink of having no water at their tap. And I was like, what kind of clickbait is this? But it was NBC News.
But you clicked it.
Yeah, because I wanted to know, what are they talking about? That's not happening.
Yeah.
But it made it sound like Arizona residents are on the brink of not having any water at the tap. As I read the article, I guess there's some city that is buying water from the city of Scottsdale, and it's a small little development northwest of Phoenix, who buys water from the city of Scottsdale, and they truck it out there.
Okay.
Those people, the city of Scottsdale no longer is going to sell to them. But that was the headline, is Arizona is residents are on the brink of not having any water at the tap. And I think there was 600 residents in this area that's buying this water. Now, they'll go figure out another place to buy water.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of
Costco.
misinformation. And for anyone who's interested in that, our last podcast, we talked about the water situation in Arizona. Obviously, the reservoirs are low. We're in a long drought here in the western United States, along with a lot of areas of the world. Middle East is in a drought. Parts of Asia are in a drought. We're in a big drought here in the West. I think it's a 30-year, biggest drought we've had in 30 years. And we know that. But what we talked about last time, and if you're interested in this, go back to the podcast from last week, is Arizona's in a very good position to get through this.
Yeah,
and
because we're built for this. We've prepared for it. We've always known we
Yeah.
are a desert, and we will have to conserve water and prepare.
Yeah. And now the Phoenix area is over 4 million people, Phoenix metro area. If you go back to the 1960s when we were less than 1 million, we use less water today than we used then because of our conservation, because of our desert landscaping and other things, even with another 3 million people. So it's important to remember that when you read these headlines. So besides that, let's go back to Miley Cyrus says
Yes.
what we can't stop.
We can't stop. First of all, job growth is kind of exploding in Arizona. And they listed the 5 fastest growing. So the 5 Arizona industries are ranked among the fastest growing in the nation. And the thing I loved about it is it is so diverse, from healthcare to manufacturing to science to it covers the board. And I think that only helps Arizona.
Yeah, the diversification is always strong. Arizona used to not be that diverse when it came to our economy. It was a lot around construction, some agriculture. But now we're getting, and you can see this on the screen if you're watching. If you're listening on the podcast, we'll just say healthcare jobs, 15,000 jobs in healthcare, up 4%, second in the U.S. And this is second in the U.S. for the growth in healthcare in Arizona. Manufacturing, something you don't think a lot of Arizona, but you're starting to think more. There's a lot of manufacturing companies who have come here because it's a business-friendly state. We don't have tornadoes. We don't have hurricanes. Added 10,240 jobs, up 6%, fifth in the U.S.
Transportation or transport and warehousing, 5th in the U.S. Science and tech, which I think is wonderful. We are so smart here, 8th in the U.S. And retail, 10th.
Yeah. I like those industries too. When I see science and tech, 12,000 jobs, 12,800 jobs, 8th in the U.S. Those are good paying jobs. When you bring that core of that skilled worker, it is very good for the economy because there's a bunch of other workers around them. They're stable jobs, they're high paying jobs, and also the manufacturing jobs, which are more, blue collar, and love seeing those too. So it's great to see the diversification. So the other thing that I think stood out, and for Neighborhood Ventures, our primary market for our assets is the Phoenix metropolitan area. We go look for assets in the core areas near transportation, near walkable areas, near freeways. So we're talking about core Phoenix, Scottsdale, Tempe. Our secondary market is the Flagstaff market, which is a place where a lot of people who live in Arizona like to go in the summer.
And we have 2 properties there.
And we have 2 projects up there now. And as you look at the growth of jobs, and there has been 100,000 jobs added, 100,000 plus jobs added in Arizona in 2022, and that's year to date so far through September. So in the first 9 months of the year, we added over 100,000 jobs. So think about that. That's in 9 months, that's 10,500 new jobs in Arizona per month. That means people either are moving here or relocating here for that, over 10,000 people a month to fill those jobs, because these are net jobs added. And in Arizona, the job growth was 3.8% over the last year. And then as you break down and look at where those jobs are going to, 7.6%, actually the highest of any metro area, went to Flagstaff.
That's kind of crazy because it's a little town. It's got a little main street, but it's busy.
Well, I don't know the last time you've been there, but
Well, for one of our events.
But that's what most people think with Flagstaff.
Yeah.
But there are some big companies there now. There's the anchor of NAU, the
Yes.
university. There are a couple of big manufacturing companies there because of the base of the university. There's in the scientific base there. There's a few national companies that have located there because they can get talent from the university. Yeah, the numbers are smaller. So in Flagstaff, and so far this year, there's been just about 5,000 jobs created there compared to Arizona, where there's been 87,000 jobs. But Look at Flagstaff compared to Tucson, which is a big metro area, over 1 million people. There was 12,500 jobs added there. So Flagstaff is the outperformer.
They will not be ignored.
Yeah,
That's right,
almost
Flagstaff.
8% job
Go
growth.
off, Flagstaff.
And this is why as we see these trends, this is why we selected Flagstaff as our secondary market. And a lot of people ask, well, why don't you go to Tucson? Why don't you do some things in Yuma or Prescott or some of Yuma or the Lake Havasu area, more on the west side of the state? And this is why we pick Flagstaff as our secondary market.
So with the manufacturing, there's the Taiwanese company who is I think they committed about 2 years ago. It's like $12 billion they're investing to build a big plant here as well.
Yeah.
That's to make the some little chip that is inside my phone.
Well, and the big news around this was we're talking about Taiwan Semiconductor.
Yes.
They're building up in North Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
And it was announced this last week that Apple is going to start getting chips in Arizona from this plant. So this
is a big deal.
Yeah, this had not been announced prior. Apple has always bought their chips offshore from Taiwan, and this is the first time they're going to start buying chips in the U.S., and it's here in Arizona.
They're bringing it home.
Yep.
Good job, Steve Jobs. He's not alive. Who is
He's
it
not
now?
alive anymore.
Steve Jobs.
Tim
spirit.
Cook. Tim Cook
Tim
now
Cook, his
is
best
running
friend.
it.
Yes.
And I heard this article when this story actually came out on Bloomberg. One of the Bloomberg reporters had been in Arizona and had drove by this on their way up to Sedona. And he actually pulled over and he counted 38 cranes as part of this plant that's being built. And he was astounded. He's based in New York. They were out here at Sedona for a weekend or for a trip.
So impressed with all our cranes.
But he was blown away.
Yes, take that, New York.
Yeah, in Arizona, we're kind of used to seeing cranes.
Yeah.
We see them downtown. We see them in Tempe. We see them 38 cranes. He was just blown away. And this is the sort of stuff that we're seeing here. But that's a huge announcement that Apple is now going to be buying chips from Arizona.
Yeah, and I think they even said that they plan to make more of their factories here as well, that they might really make their home here.
Yep.
And we have the room for them to build.
You know,
a lot of desert.
COVID is what drove this because we saw how it impacted folks like Apple's supply chain.
Yep.
Their inability to get what they needed when they wanted it because different countries shut down at different times. And so that's part of why we're seeing inflation here is a lot of companies like Apple are saying we're going to bring jobs back to the U.S. We're going to pay people more, and it is driving price up. So there's some. Obviously, it's a positive that they're bringing stuff on shore, but COVID's really what drove this.
I know. COVID is really the first time I think I really thought about how things end up from me clicking a button on the computer to my front door.
Yeah.
And the whole process it has to go through and how many countries and people are involved. And I thought, oh, there's a lot to this.
Yeah.
And I appreciate everyone who made it possible for me to get
right.
whatever I ordered
Yeah,
off
until
Amazon.
there's a disruption there,
Yeah.
we just assume you click that button on Amazon, it's
Magic.
going to happen.
So this is my favorite thing that's happening in Arizona. This article I got very excited about. Metro Center Mall, North Phoenix. That is my home. Metro Center is where, when I was growing up, you went to go. They had a skating rink, and you got an Orange Julius, and you were the coolest person that ever existed. And it died its death. It was no longer cool anymore. But they are redeveloping it,
Yes.
and it's going to be amazing.
Yes.
And this is not far from me. And I am very anxious for that construction to be finished. Yeah.
So it used to be the cool place. I didn't know that.
The coolest. It was the best mall.
Did you go hang out at Castles and Coasters after?
Yes, when it was golf and stuff.
Oh, I didn't even know it was golf
so like
and stuff.
the roller coasters and things that these children are spoiled with, that came when I was like a teenager and too cool.
Yeah.
But like it was
Now, the one thing that I notice about Castles and Coasters or that Metro Center area is it's all like there's a lot of circles around.
yes.
And so I always thought that was cool. Like
Yeah.
if you're driving through that area, it's
can get
not
trapped.
set up. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not
no,
set
they
up as
keep
like
you in.
regular straight streets. It's like circles around different
Yes.
sections.
No, you're
of it.
never leaving. And there used the super salad, which we lost in COVID. R.I.P.
Oh, super salads are great.
And the
That
sweet
place is
tomato.
great.
Yes.
Are those all closed now?
Yes, apparently buffets are not the thing after COVID. But no, it's a great area and it was the best place to go.
Yeah.
And they're bringing it back, but not just as a mall. We have reimagined it. So 5 million square feet with over 3,000 multifamily units. So they're putting in housing, which the area needs. They're putting in hotels, a park, all wonderful additions to this area that could use a little uplift. And then the light rail, which I was sure when they first started talking about the light rail forever ago, would never catch on. That's insane. We all drive cars. No, this is going to be one of its terminals. And I think by early 2024, it's going to be ready, and you can take that little light rail right to Metro Center, which is going to be a wonderland.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. So this is kind of the further maturation of the Phoenix Metro when light rail is actually going to places that are helpful. Yep. One of the places I use light rail for is to go to any games downtown or concerts, because then you don't have to deal with parking. And it's the same thing at a place like this. Instead of having all this space for parking, hopefully they'll be able to minimize some of the parking lots, put some other usable stuff if people will ride the light rail. But yeah, Metro Center has always been this great location right off of the 17. You know, there's getting some blight because most of those stores in the mall have closed down. And they've tried to keep them open, but we've changed. We don't like going to these big indoor malls. We're not going to Mervyn's anymore. We're not going to Mervyn's.
Nope.
I don't know why we ever went to Mervyn's, but we did.
I did.
And JCPenney, I never understood those stores, but yeah, they now. You don't go to Mervyn's. I don't even know if Mervyn's is around.
I think it also R.I.P. Mervyn's. I'm so sorry.
So the big thing with the Metro Center too is it's been in the works for a long time, and finally the city council approved its vote of 6-2 that this development can move forward. So this is a good thing. You know, we have to move forward with some of these things, and I'm glad that you're excited because you love this spot.
I do. This is my area. I would like us to own every building over there, but what I like too is that Castles and Coasters was like a little upset. They said we'd like to not be ignored. And they met and they resolved their differences. Peace is possible, and it is going forward. Yeah,
because Castles and Coasters, they're going to be disrupted with this construction. Yeah, so they have to get through a few years of redevelopment. But if they can get through that, they're going to be very happy. So glad to hear that the city is moved forward with the project.
I see the construction. I drive past it, and they are still busy. You cannot keep a kid from an arcade. Like, don't you worry. They will survive. But, okay, this is the thing. They're going to build it, but first they have to find the people who will come and build it. And so that is where we're seeing a little bit of a hiccup.
Yeah. We've seen this in our projects as well. There's a big strain when it comes to labor shortages. There's still some materials that there's shortages on. Most of those supply chain hiccups are now starting to smooth out, but labor has been short for a long time. Anybody in the industry knows that. The property we talked about earlier, Taiwan Semiconductor, and Intel is also building in their plant in Chandler. But a lot of the materials and a lot of the labor has been sucked into those projects because they're huge, massive projects.
Yes. This is why we love our construction crew, and they can never leave.
Yeah, because it's a market-driven system, so those places, if they will pay more, then they'll get the labor. Now, the key thing, though, right now we are in a very strained time when it comes to labor and construction, but if you walk this through a little bit, and you got to remember the Wayne Gretzky quote, it isn't about where the puck is, it's about where the puck is going.
My favorite quote.
Great quote by Wayne. I don't even know if he said it, but
a sport.
But the cup is going in a direction, and where that is going is there is now going to be a softness with all this building that's been going on because where interest rates are now, fewer developers have started projects over the last 4 or 5 months, and that's going to continue in an elevated rate environment. So we do expect there to be a softness when it comes to this labor, and this article talks about that as we get into the middle of 2023 and a lot of these projects get completed. A lot of the folks working on them will come back to the market.
So don't panic, Heather. It's going to be okay. That's what I've learned.